I am trying this interesting food for the first time. This is smoked cod roe. Now, I have had cod roe before in a fish and chip shop once upon a time, and I have had it as just the eggs sometimes, but this is smoked, preserved, ready to eat. So let's give it a go. That's actually really nice. A little bit messy. And there's a small bit of sourness to it, but I'm used to bitter foods now. But wow, that's actually really nice. So I'm going to put some of this on some crackers, I think, on some pendulous seed crackers with a bit of wild garlic, and that will just be perfect. I drove down from Northamptonshire last night, yesterday evening, and I got to a nice little pullover, a nice little car park near the Southampton docks. I mean, it was the other side of the docks, so you could see down the estuary, and it was nice and quiet, nice and relaxed. And so I spent the night there, had a good sleep, fully rested, and now I just went to this fish place that's nearby that they get seasonal local fish and also fish from around the UK, so this is where I can actually have something to eat and enjoy some seafood. I've just been a bit stubborn in that way, for just so that I can kind of mimic how my gut and my body would be reacting to my environment. So now that I am near the coast, I am going to be feasting on wild food that you can catch around here. I'm going to have a go at doing some fishing myself at some point, and trying to catch my own things, but my body, from travelling, I just need something. So I've got some of this smoked cod roe. It's hot smoked, so it's all ready to go, and I've got them on my pendulous seed crackers. Now, these were pendulous seed and acorn crackers that I made myself at home. I think there's a sprinkle of seaweed powder and a sprinkle of hogweed seed in there, and I've also got some wild garlic leaf on there that I foraged before I came away. My hair. But that is the perfect combination. Just what I needed. So after I'm just waiting for them to get some fresh dressed crab in, and after I've got my supplies, I'm going to head to the campsite that I'll be staying at for the next 2 days while I go into Southampton and do the gaming stuff. Right, we're finally at the campsite. It's a nice, quiet, secluded place just outside the outskirts of Southampton, so I'm far enough away not to feel suffocated by the city, especially in the morning when I wake up, and at night. I have a lot of green around me, a lot of places to forage, so this is great for the wild biome project because I have a lot of things I can gather. I can have some wild salads, I can eat without without worrying about being in a built-up city with hardly any green. So this is my base for the next 2 days, and I will be going into the city, which I'm not really looking forward to because I'm very sensitive to the smell of pollution. So I'll probably just get an Uber or a taxi to the location and stay indoors for the whole time. But yeah, so we'll see what happens tomorrow when I head in, and today's just going to be a day of rest, relaxing, feasting, because I bought some oysters that I'm going to eat. I haven't had oysters for a long time, or I don't even know if I've even tasted oysters, to be honest. So I'm going to have some oysters, I have some crab meat, and I have some mackerel, but the mackerel smoked and will be good for tomorrow. So yeah, it's time to just enjoy the area. You can hear all the birds chirping, the not too much traffic noise, so it's a home away from home. So we made it to my destination. We are heading to can you see it? So I'm going here just because I was at the campsite and I realised, because I've got all the seafood, I needed some ice or something, but it turns out they have a freezer, so I'm just going to run in and grab some ice blocks that can be refrozen, so that saves the waste. I've got loads at home, I just wish I'd have packed them before we came out, but just look how busy it is. I don't like being in places like this. I rarely come out to this kind of location, and you can just smell the pollution thick in the air. But no, this is just going to be an inside and out job, and then we're done. But it is going to be really interesting going in here on a wild food diet, because there's nothing, I mean, I don't really buy anything from a supermarket anyway, but this is going to be a interesting look at all the produce in there, and I just don't really want any of it. So I'm going in with this electric skateboard. So I'll be dragging that around with me. But yeah, let's head into the supermarket. Right, where am I going to find what I need? Probably down here, hopefully. Okay, this is a bigger Tesco than I realised. Now I've got to go up an elevator and try and figure out where this thing is. I don't like supermarkets. And back down the elevator, because apparently they're not up here. I'm going to go in circles, aren't I, trying to find these couple of little things. So we found them finally after asking 3 people, but no wonder I didn't notice them, because they were green, not blue, but they're not very big either. So I'm just debating on how many I'll actually need. I'm going to be away all day tomorrow, so it might actually make sore sense just to get a bottle and freeze the bottle if I'm allowed to in that freezer. I finally made it back. It turned out that they actually had some blue, those blue ice packs, bigger ones than those little tiny little green things, about a similar price. But I had no help in finding those ones. They were exactly where I thought they might be, somewhere near the ice and the freezer section. When 3 people told me no, they're not going to be there, so good work, Tesco staff. But I found them, and I've come back and popped them in the freezer, and that will save me from having to get iced every day to keep the seafood nice and cool. I did get a lot of smoked stuff, so that's not going to go off. It's just for the crab meat and the oysters. So this is the rest of the smoked roe. I've eaten all of it today. It was actually quite delicious, especially on these crackers. I'm really glad that I made these crackers for the journey. They've become so useful, using the deer meat and now using the roe meat, the roe eggs. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of going through the busy roads. I normally avoid all that at home. I very rarely go to the supermarket, maybe for some toilet roll, kitchen towel, and used to be a bit of butter, but I don't really use it an awful lot. It used to be mostly going to the farm shop for my raw milk, so it was a bit jarring in this busy location. I could smell the fumes in the air, and it wasn't very nice. So I'm glad to be back in the campsite, and I'm just going to relax now for a bit and have a rest and then see what I'm going to prepare for dinner. I've got my supper, or almost supper. I think it's only 3 something, but this is the crab meat, the wild crab meat that I got from earlier, and I've gathered some dandelions, I gathered some red dead nettles, some alexanders, some apple blossom, some hawthorn leaves, some bitter cress, and also I chopped up some of the wild garlic that I brought with me from home, and that's all on here underneath the crab meat. And I also drizzled a little bit of hazelnut oil around the leaves. Thank you to Gemma of Earth for trading a little bit of that with the tallow. And also I put a little bit of birch sap syrup on here because I feel like the meat with the salad, the little bit of sweetness that the birch sap syrup will give will be. So I'm going to come to the campsite sometime today, get set up, and kind of like wash it ready for tomorrow. But I'm glad that I came down yesterday and then just took my time today, had a look around, got my seafood, and it's a different kind of pace when you have to think about gathering your wild food as well. Foraging the salad, that took about half an hour. I mean, I could have done it a lot faster, but it was nice just to take my time and observe things and pick things. And I've got a delicious dish here. So this is going to give me a nice filling meal, and I might have a couple of oysters later. We'll see. But I'm just going to relax and prepare myself for being in the city for the next 2 days. I'll be going early and getting back late, so it's going to be quite busy and quite interesting, having only wild food in my rucksack that I'll be able to eat and nothing else during the time there. But I'm just going to enjoy this crab salad. It's really good, and it feels good knowing that I've picked 95% of this meal. Would it be 95%? The crab's maybe 50% by weight. But in terms of ingredients, I've picked 95% of it. The birch sap syrup I reduced down myself from the 145 litres down to 1.2, 1.3. And yeah, so this meal is just because I've put it all together by myself and wild food. It's just so much more appreciating of what's gone into it. So the feedback effect is really important. Being able to trace back your food, being able to connect with your food. See, in the supermarket, things are wrapped up, like a chicken, it's wrapped up. You don't actually know what it was like when it was alive, where it was, what it looked like. And a lot of people don't realise these days that a bit of meat in a packet was part of the living, breathing animal and knows what the animal looked like, where it was kept. It's a huge link missing in our feedback, and if we had that, a lot of us wouldn't choose to eat from intensive sources because we'd go and see how the animals are being taken care of, what they're eating. And instinctively, I'm sure most of us would decide to look for other things, like a nice pasture-raised cow, for example, that's actually had a good life and has eaten good grass. Or in terms of vegetables, you'd want to find somewhere that's organically grown in regenerative farming, where the land is taken good care of and isn't completely destroyed by fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides. And I think that's a big factor in food in general. It'd be amazing if we could work to reconnect people to the sources, and through epigenetics, through turning on switches from experiencing this firsthand, I feel like that would be a really positive and promising approach to saving our ecosystem, saving our farmland, saving nature.